Hey everyone, welcome back to the first official relaunch of Sip and Share. All this means is that I wanted to put something on my channel that was a little more intentional. I wanted to create videos that provided you with something a little bit more. I still am going to create my fun videos, my family adventures, my normal content, but I did want to add a little more depth to my channel, the internet. I just want to be more helpful. Even though I'm scaling back a lot in my personal life because I'm creating more space to be able to have another baby and all these things, I still want to create value for you guys. I still want this to be a place where you can come for fun and relaxation, but also maybe leave with something. And that's why I decided to relaunch Sip and Share. So I talked about it very long-winded in a previous video. If you want to go check that out, you can. But hello, welcome back. Essentially, Sip and Share is just going to be a video series where I chat more in depth about things revolving motherhood, parenthood, marriage, homeschooling, health, wellness, things like that. I want to give you guys some videos and ideas that you can take what you want and leave what you don't. And maybe you come away with nothing and it was just a nice way to pass time. Maybe you come away with something that you can go forward and research yourself and maybe shift your life. You never know, right? So Sip and Share videos are just videos that I sip something and share things with you. It's pretty genius titling there. Okay, let's just dive into today's topic because it's gonna be a juicy one. There's so many layers. I'm not gonna be able to talk about it all today with you. If this sparks questions, please leave them below. I will be happy to film another one on this topic and we can really get into it. Maybe it'll be a Q&A next time, I don't know, but let's just see what you guys have to say about it first. I'm just gonna start this video off by saying you don't have to agree with me, that's okay. Happy to have friendly discussions in the comments below, but just a gentle but firm reminder that this is like my internet space. This is my channel. This is not the place to debate, belittle, or tell people they're wrong, because just don't do that. It's crappy. All right, so I asked you guys on Instagram what we should talk about. Two things kept coming to the front. I got a lot of questions about these two topics. So I asked you guys on Instagram which one to talk about first, and you guys chose food, diet, kind of how I came to where I am, what my journey was with food and health, and how I came to come back so fiercely into pro-metabolic eating. So that's what we're going to talk about. If you guys want to just chill, hopefully you take something away from this. If this is not your thing, if you disagree with this style of eating or this no, I'm not going to go into that. If you do disagree, that's cool. I don't need to hear about it because this year is about me coming back home into myself and reminding myself that I don't need to explain myself all the time. I don't need to over explain myself. I don't need to show up for everybody. I don't have to be for everybody. It's okay. So we're just going to dive into it. Onward and upward, Rainbow. Rainbow, what are you sipping on today? I have here an adrenal cocktail. Fancy way of saying it's just something that stops the afternoon crash. I drink one almost every single day. It's awesome. I'll talk about this later in the video, but that's what I'm sipping on. And I didn't mean to drink this for this video, but it's kind of hilarious that it's exactly what this video is about to be about. Not adrenal cocktails, but this way of fueling your body. Okay, I've got a lot to dive into. Let's go. All right, so I don't want to spend too much time talking about this part, but I feel like I should give you a bit of a crash course on where I came from food-wise and my journey through food and how I came back into pro-metabolic eating. Long story short, I was vegan and then vegetarian for 3 years and it was destroying my health, and I knew that if I wanted to have another baby, something needed to change quickly. Also, just for myself, I needed to come back to a healthy state, and I was not in a healthy place. And I tried my best to stay vegetarian and meet my body's requirements, but it just didn't work for me. I'm not bashing anything like that, but this is my story and my journey and my very passionate opinions on health. So I've done everything under the sun almost, probably every fad diet you can, that's not true. I've done a lot of more fad kind of lifestyle diets, but I have been deeply rooted in more ancestral, Weston A. Price, nose to tail eating. That's kind of where it started for me. So I've always been a super crunchy mom. I was the crunchy mom and I was young, so I was already kind of an outcast because I was this super young mom and then I was doing everything differently. It was oh, okay. And that's kind of where I built this community. I started a blog when my daughter was like, I don't know, 8 or 10 months old, because there was nobody around me that was doing the things I was doing. We were eating all organic. We were like eating nose to tail. We were shopping at farmers markets and getting things sourced locally. We were cloth diapering and breastfeeding. And I just went like, just nosedived off the deep end into natural wellness and natural parenting and gentle parenting and all those kinds of things. I mean, if you're in this space right now, you maybe relate to this to some degree, because I feel like I attract that kind of audience naturally, because obviously I'm still like that. Just not as intense. It can be a really overwhelming process when you're just trying to research what's best for your health and what's best for your baby's health, and there's just so many options, and there's all of these opinions and so much information, and there's science supporting like so many different methods. It's overwhelming, astronomically overwhelming. And so I did definitely get sucked into more really restrictive, strict health fads, lifestyles, diets, whatever you want to call them. And maybe this little conversation will help you understand that like what I'm doing now, it's not a diet or anything like that. It's just, we'll talk about that in a minute. No, we're gonna save that, hold on. So I found paleo when, really early on. And we were paleo for a long time. But then I was also discovering Weston A. Price at that time. I was probably 19. I had a tiny baby and we were just figuring things out. And so I loved paleo, and I liked a lot of like the clean, organic, nutrient dense food options and taking out the processed stuff. But again, paleo is really extremist as well. So like I wouldn't recommend paleo, obviously. But at the same time, I was also really interested in Weston A. Price, because I wasn't wanting to give my baby the same thing. Like I knew my baby needed more high calorie, high nutrient foods that were a wider variety than what paleo would offer. So I was kind of in both fields. So we weren't fully strict paleo. We definitely had a lot of like ancestral Weston A. Like if you don't know what I'm talking about when Weston A. Price, he's just actually a dentist that went and traveled around the world to different tribes, and I'm not doing this justice, but like he went and discovered what people were eating and their dental health, and he was able to link a lot of chronic issues directly to diet. And he was able to discover like what nutrients people were getting and how that affected their health and their teeth, and what made them, you know, some of the healthiest from a really like cellular nutrient dense level. Again, not the best explanation, but that's just what I'm talking about. I think if you've looked into this kind of health and wellness, you've probably come across the name Weston A. Price. So anyway, instinct steered me in like the right-ish direction when I was younger, but then I just started learning more and more, and paleo became harder. I think there was like this time, it was always hard back in the day. Now it's so easy. Cody and I will always go to the store and we're like, oh my gosh, do you remember when you couldn't find ghee anywhere? We had to go to like the special little markets like deep in the city to find this. You couldn't find coconut oil. Oh my goodness, it was a different time. So we tried a lot of different things. Then I definitely tried out vegan a couple of times, raw vegan, all that kind of stuff. And it just like immediately I noticed negative changes, and it was like, no, that's not good. Like I was breastfeeding still. There was years between this. I breastfed both my kids for like 3 years. Automatically, I just noticed red flags, but I did try a lot of different things. I've never been into like fad diets, so we never did things like keto or however the heck you say that. I always stuck more to like, you know, Weston A. Price and like AIP and just general things like that. Fast forward down the years, and our family is really passionate about the earth and animals, and my daughter wants to be a wildlife conservationist. So far, that's what she tells us. She's really passionate about it. I think conservation is definitely going to be mapped in her life somehow. It's besides the point. But she was influenced somehow about vegetarianism, and she was interested in it. And then I was like, yeah, okay. I also kind of got influenced about it. I don't know. We just decided to try it. And as much as I regret it, I don't, because I don't think I'd be as fiery and passionate and back to my roots as I am now if we wouldn't have had that little like blip. So basically we were vegetarian, and I say we because the kids wanted to be vegetarian as well, so I went in with them. Cody did not. And as much as I look back and I just cringe that we did that, I know it taught us so much. I know it taught me so much, and that is valuable. And I'm also really grateful that it was, our kids were kind of like in a good middle age where like any damage that was done is reversible. So that's really good. Like my daughter's getting older, and she's slowly starting to enter her teen years soon around the corner. And you know, that's a very pivotal time for hormones and becoming a woman, and those are incredibly important to make sure you are fueling your body well and like fueling your children's body well. So I'm really grateful that like we stopped that before. Okay, it's getting long-winded, but let me just wrap it up. And in 2019, no, it wasn't 2019. I always say 2019. Well, it wasn't. So in March 2020, we decided to stop being vegetarian as an experiment, and we just never went back. We just were like, we'll try it for a week, and if we don't feel good about it, we'll go back. And we never went back. And instantly, the things I knew to be true about health and the root things I knew started coming back in like full force, and my body started healing. I'm still healing, but it was just, the change was insane. Like it was just something that couldn't be overlooked, and I could not go back. Now, cue pro-metabolic eating. So that's what I do now. It's not a diet, it's not a lifestyle, it's not a fad. However, it is starting to kind of become a fad, and you should be cautious of that. But at the root, it's just ancestral eating. It's just eating like our ancestors did, with ancestral knowledge, biologically supporting foods that nourish you at a cellular level. It's very simple. It's not complicated. And if you're looking at any sort of diet, lifestyle, whatever label people slap on these, if they are asking you to cut out major food groups, I would look twice, and a third time, and a fourth time, and a fifth time at it. And I would ask a lot of questions, because the way you eat should never be like, you should only be adding goodness and not taking away. You should never feel deprived. It's kind of like a topic for a different day, maybe. Oh my god, this video is so long. But I feel like we need to talk about this. There's so much in health and food, and it's so important that people talk about this. So basically, pro-metabolic eating, sorry, my bird just jumped off of his swing. You all right there, bud? Pro-metabolic eating is just, basically, it's just the science of what all of these, like Weston A. Price and things like, you know, I'm following the Brewer's pregnancy diet. It's just a guideline, and it's metabolic eating. It's pro-metabolic. I'm doing that because I'm trying to become pregnant and I'm supporting my fertility. So I'm just using the Brewer's diet as a guideline to make sure I'm getting enough categories and calories into my body to make myself as fertile as possible. But with less calories than I would be eating if I was pregnant, but just slightly less. But basically, pro-metabolic eating just means working with your body instead of against it. Because this is the thing that like people really resist about, because diet culture has taught us so many awful wrong things, and it's not your fault. It's not anybody's fault for believing it, for thinking it's right. It's just, diet culture is toxic. We all know this, and there's so much that sometimes we don't even realize we carry from diet culture that affects our daily choices, especially as women who need to support our hormones. We have so many hormone disorders in the world and through women and with women these days. It's insanity. And I'm gonna be bold, and I'm gonna say that diet culture has a huge part to play in why that is. Like, not to mention environmental toxins and all this stuff that just adds on. Like, we have enough stress, come on. But the big point is you need to eat enough calories, first of all, which is probably way higher than you think. We're taught that women should be able to live off of 12 to 1600 calories. Let's not even say 12, 14 to 1600 calories. If you are eating 1200 calories a day, I don't care what size you are not getting enough food. You're stressing your body. it's dangerous. Please reconsider. But we're taught that women should be able to live off 14 to 1600 calories and work out and do all those things. It's just not enough calories for your body. 14 to 1600 calories, that's our base metabolic rate. Like, that's the calories we burn just breathing and existing, sleeping, being a person that is alive. Put it into perspective, a mom of young children needs about 2,200 calories a day, 2,200 calories. And if you're like, whoa, like that's a baseline. If you're breastfeeding, that goes up. If you're pregnant, that goes up. I mean, this whole thing goes against almost every single diet out there. Every single thing that we're told is healthy for us. It goes against almost everything because it goes to the root cause of issues. It's not a band-aid to lose 10 pounds fast. It's not a band-aid to like, ooh, do this thing and you'll have like clearer skin or you won't be as lethargic. But those things might harm you in the long run. So all metabolic eating does is get to the root cause and heal you and make you nourish yourself on a cellular level right at the base so that you can perform doing whatever it is you do, whether you're an athlete or a mom or you just need to like be a functioning human who's not exhausted all the time. That's what it's doing. Because if you think about it, all these healthy foods that we believe to be healthy. If I say healthy foods, what do you think of? Kale, salad, green juice, something like that, right? It's important to understand that even healthy foods in overconsumption can sometimes really stress your digestive system, your metabolism, your thyroid, all of these super important powerhouses that make us function and maintain our health. So it's just about eating nose to tail like our ancestors. And that just means like stop eating just the meats that you think make a chicken finger and start eating the whole animal like our ancestors did. And this is what comes into play with a lot of like, I had a lot of mental game to play after being vegetarian for so long, right? I'm super passionate. I love animals. I'm incredibly passionate about animals and wildlife. I love animals. The balance I found was eating nose to tail like our ancestors did. You don't consume such an excessive amount of animal products, but you make sure they're locally sourced and you make sure you eat the whole animal. And yeah, that does mean eating organ meats and things that we've deemed yucky now, but that are full of nutrients. And it's an incredibly important practice. And I think a lot of like people that are like, you know, homestead movement is really big, but like farmers, all these people, they know this. It's ancestral knowledge. They know this. It's been passed down from generations. And our elders know this. That's why, like, you know, grandma's making liver and onions because she knows what's up. But the biggest thing is to eat foods that are bioavailable. And all that means is that it has nutrients that are easy to digest, easy to absorb, and then can be utilized as energy. So it's really simple and it's very scientific at the base of it. You just are fueling your cells so that it can function at their most optimal level. And it all results around your metabolism. How is your metabolism functioning? A lot of people are like, oh, I have a wonderful metabolism. I can eat anything I want and nothing happens. But those people probably also have a lot of symptoms that might be, I'm not like diagnosing anybody. This is not medical advice, come on. But oftentimes they're like, oh yeah, my hair falls out a lot in the shower, or like I'm exhausted all the time. And that is a huge consideration. Your metabolism is everything. It's how you process the energy you're putting into your body. So how is your metabolism functioning, you know? And you can tell when your metabolism probably isn't functioning that well because there are a lot of signs and symptoms, like having crashes in the afternoon. I drink an adrenal cocktail every afternoon to combat that. And all this is bioavailable vitamin C, orange juice, full fat. I use like farm grass-fed full fat milk, like a splash of that. Minerals, salts, magnesium, potassium, all these salts that are these minerals that naturally kind of start to deplete in the afternoon, and a protein source. And that's all this is. It tastes like a creamsicle. It's great. If you want to look into adrenal cocktails, I will leave like my favorite accounts that share a lot of recipes and stuff like that if you guys want to look into that. But we can't talk too much about stuff like this in this video. Things like having thyroid issues, low libido. Most people should have a naturally pretty high libido. It's getting dark in here. I'm sorry, you guys, it starts snowing. Ugh. But things like lack of hunger in the morning, not being hungry when you wake up and not wanting breakfast. It's a sign of a sluggish metabolism. Cold hands and feet, PMS, bloating, hair loss like I talked about, brittle nails, anxiety, depression, waking up frequently during the night, infertility. Like there's so many signs that point to a slow metabolism, and if you check off a lot of those, there's a really good chance your metabolism is probably slow and not functioning properly, and that's maybe where you can start your own research journey about that. But basically, eating foods that aren't supporting your metabolism, they increase stress in the body. And we're not talking about like, oh, I'm so stressed from work, but like biological stress on a cellular level. And what decreases as a result of hormonal stress levels being elevated? Your metabolism, your thyroid, two things you do not want decreasing. It just comes down to asking yourself, how do I eat in a way that takes the most stress off my body, actually supports how my body needs and wants to function? It's really as simple as that. And that's the thing. That's why people are talking about it. And that's why so many people are passionate about it, because it's not complicated. There's no set of rules. It's just fueling your body at a cellular level to maintain optimal health. There's no tricks, there's no gimmicks. You need to eat, and you need to eat good foods. Like if we took a really simple, normal biological approach to our body's need for glucose, we live in a world that demonizes sugar, demonizes carbs, but our body needs those. Now, does it need a pack of Dunkaroos? No. But does it need sugars from fruit, honey, maple syrup, even like good quality sugar? Hell yeah. Does it need good carbohydrates from fruit, potatoes, good quality breads? Absolutely. Like in a perfect world, people would understand how their bodies are meant to like biologically function and then eat in a way that supports that. I'm not saying there's one way to eat that way, but just eating in a way that supports your biological need for food. I need to turn on some lights. Shitty lighting now. Sorry guys. I thought the weather would help me out and be less bad. And it's just gonna snow. How do we do those things? It's not by restricting carbohydrates, calories, or demonizing any food groups or foods, or super expensive supplements and powders. The thing that makes pro-metabolic eating different is that it isn't a diet. It's not a lifestyle. It's not something you have to buy certain crap for. It is a lifestyle choice to know, understand, and nourish the body with an enormous amount of fresh, wonderful foods that have been available and have been being eaten for hundreds of years. I think we're starting to talk about this more, of all these foods that are actually incredibly good for us that have been just put on the pedestal of the villain, and it's not doing us any favors. So I'm incredibly passionate about this. So as you can see, if you've listened to all of this and you're here now, then I thank you. But also maybe you can start to see in that very like brief description of my journey how I started in a nutrient dense supporting my body way, but then easily kind of moved back and forth. But I always came back to this way of eating. And now I think what's different is because I'm older, I know more. I've been doing this for like a decade of this back and forth, and I'm just like, enough, no more. I'm never gonna put my health at risk like I did and have to heal like I have healed from cutting out so much of my diet. Like sometimes I look back and I'm like, I was trying to get more protein into my body, and so I was using these fake proteins that aren't even, they're so processed, they're so artificial. No wonder that wasn't helping me. Oh, that took me forever to drink that. I usually try and drink it a little quicker. But anyway, guys, that's why I'm like so fiery about this now. I'm so passionate. I don't know what's happened to me. I feel like a different person, and it's not just because of food stuff. We'll do I have a lot to share with you guys in like the realm of health and wellness. And I just feel like I'm upgrading. I feel like I'm coming home to myself. I don't care anymore that somebody might get offended because I say I eat meat. I don't care, you know? I used to tread so lightly, and then I struggled for so long. How can I speak my truth but also be kind to people who think differently than me? And I don't know, it just clicked that like I can't please everybody. I just need to continue being myself, who is naturally kind, and I'm allowed to have passions that not everybody agrees with, but these are my damn internet spaces and I can talk about whatever I want on them. And it's more complex than that, but basically I've just had a lot of like realizations. Turning 30 has been a huge thing for me. It's been a journey, and I just feel like everything happened to bring me here. And I'm so stoked. I'm so stoked for it. And I want to talk to you guys more about it, because if I can shred even a spark of interest in somebody that makes you go and research and makes you find something that makes you healthier, makes you more well-rounded, brings you home to yourself, regardless if it's what I suggested or what, that is so valuable to me. And that's what I want to do in this space and in these videos, is I'm just trying to bring ideas and a spark to somebody out there. And not everybody's gonna love everything, and that's okay. But maybe this starts you off on your own journey. Maybe this starts you off on your own discovering things about you, fixing your own health if it's not doing well. I realized I have to stop undercutting myself. I have valuable knowledge. I've lived a lot of life. I know I'm still young, but I've done so much that's given me so many unique experiences, and it's worthy of sharing. Why do I have this channel if I'm not actually sharing what I feel and think and my knowledge that I do have? It's valuable. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm at. Little tangent there, but I hope you guys liked this conversation. I hope this brought value to you. There's so much. I'm sure you can understand how much you could deep dive into this and how much to talk about there is within this topic. If you want to hear more kind of diet related health and wellness, like surrounding food, pro-metabolic eating, things like that, please let me know. If you guys have specific questions, feel free to put them in the comments. I try and answer every single one of my comments, unless it's like annoying first, whatever, you know, like YouTube stuff. But I do try and answer like every single one of my comments. Small channel benefits, I can do that. If there's a ton of questions, maybe I'll save them for a Q&A, and I'll film one of those really soon, and we'll put that out soon. Going forward, I want to put one of these sip and share videos out once a week, and I hope you really enjoy them. But if you would like to talk about this further, please visit the comment section down below. If you guys want to talk to each other, feel free to do that. I love when the community comes together and wonderful, good, juicy discussions are had. But if you want me to talk about this further, please let me know, and I will. I hope this was helpful. I know I've treaded so lightly on the topic of food, and I think that's because I was vegetarian for so long, and I felt immense guilt for the first little bit that I was eating meat. I didn't tell anybody that we stopped being vegetarian, I think, until almost like 6 months to a year after we'd already stopped being vegetarians, when I started to share. Well, I didn't even share, I just like finally started to show photos or whatever of like food that obviously was not vegetarian. But I didn't want to talk about it. I was like, no, I don't want the vegans to come after me. I don't want to be like, ugh, I just don't want to deal with it. But now I'm like strong. I'm like, no, I'm doing this for me. This is good for my health. This is good for my children's health. And I firmly believe that. And I am standing my ground. Mama Bear fully activated. So I'm fine with it now. So I hope you enjoyed. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking at you guys. This was a lot to digest. It was a lot. See what I did there? But I hope you guys got something out of it. I'm excited for what these videos will like blossom into, If you have a topic that you want to see me tackle in one of these videos and talk about, also put that in the comment box, the comments down below, and we will chat about it. So thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you in my next one. Bye guys. I'm drinking an adrenal crock.